Today, we are excited to welcome our special guest, Nik Nocturnal. For those who don't know you, Nik, could you tell us a little bit about your channel and some of your projects?
I am the dude on the internet that makes the weird faces when breakdowns go burr. People sometimes remember I also play guitar and have bands, and I play in Termina, and I do trap metal NIK NXK stuff, and I do other collabs and all that.
We wanted to congratulate you on the recent release of your killer and very different singles. You know, I think that you've got some real wild stuff going on. Obviously, you just said NIK NXK, your trap metal project. It's showing some serious numbers.
Making money from music, you cannot relate. Formality, formality, fuck the mentality.
In pushing some boundaries with, you know, metalheads. And Termina, you just put out another slammin' song with Andy Suzek of Monuments and Makari. How do you feel about those releases in particular and what the reaction has been like so far?
Yeah, they're definitely two very different releases and kind of even arguably for different audiences. I mean, Termina that's my modern metal project. You know, if someone says, hey, are you in a band? Even though it's just, you know, technically me and Andy and kind of Chris Turner now, you know, because he's not like an official member, but like, you know, he's doing all the drums for the album. I'm just like, yeah, like that's my band technically. Termina that's my main project, if that's the thing, most serious one, for the metal scene at least. So yeah, it was releasing Termina was great. I mean, it's been a while. We've upgraded everything. We got, like I said, actual drums. We got an incredible drummer, Chris Turner. We're gonna have actual mixes, Zach Cervini. Working with Patrick Lawler again to do the videos, and yeah, it was like, all right, you know, we got some heavy stuff. We've been writing for a little bit. Finally got some vocals done on a track, and we were like, all right, well, that's the single, like, done. Like, it was the perfect kind of middle ground of what we've been writing. Like, we have stuff that's disgustingly way heavier than that. We have some stuff that's a bit more chill than that, but, you know, we want to be a modern metal band. Like, we don't want to just be like, here's just metalcore, you know, times 11, here's deathcore times 11. Like, we want to have, like, here's our deathcore track, here's our metalcore track, here's our, you know, the one I'm working on right now is a Tony Danza style, like Joshua Travis, crazy with alien noises, you know, track. You know, here's our lo-fi mixed with After the Burial track. So I'm very excited with how that Translucent came out and how all the songs are shaping up right now, because that was the perfect just middle ground. You get a little bit of everything with that, and there's a lot more to come. So yeah, I'm super happy with how it went. People seem to really like it. It's doing really well on Spotify. I think we literally are just about to hit like 100,000 monthly with Termina, which we've never done. And it's crazy because it's just one song, you know, compared to the whole album we released last year. So that's exciting, and there's a lot more coming. The next single should actually be out next month. And then NIK NXK was really cool too, because that was originally just like this meme trap metal thing that I was messing around with, just because I see trap metal doing like crazy well, and like the metal scene basically fully ignoring it. Like, trap metal is not really trap metal, it's trap with metal. You know, it's not a metal genre, it's a trap genre. So seeing that pop off and liking what they're kind of doing there and saying, well, what can I bring to the table that's different, unique, and fun? And I was started with the meme approach, and then, you know, long story short, I got in contact with my dude, my dude Deadweight, who's doing all the production with that stuff. We got talking, and he's incredible and knows his stuff, and it ended up being weirdly more serious, even though, like, my aesthetic is obviously a joke. Like, I don't have an eyebrow tattoo that says, you know, NN, like Nik NXK or Nik Nocturnal on it. Like, I don't have, you know, fists, True Cavalt tats and stuff like that. And my swagger is very different than what I wear in those videos. Yeah, it ended up, like, being lyrically a little bit more serious than I thought it was going to be, and musically even more serious, while keeping kind of the aesthetic that's obviously like, okay, this is a character. But yeah, that did a lot better than I thought. We released the first track, Isolation, which did well on both streaming and YouTube. And then we released Industry, which actually was, because YouTube ranks, like, you know, your videos 1 out of 10 of how good it does within the first, like, day or first week or something. That Industry track was my biggest video within 24 hours I've ever had. And I was like, that's wrong. That shouldn't have happened. Like, that doesn't make much sense. But it was, and I was so shocked. I wasn't even at home. I was in New York, so I couldn't even do my normal, like, marketing and reaching out to people. I just did the best I could and watched the premiere from, like, a hotel on fucking 3G and stuff, and trying to get Wi-Fi and seeing what I could do. But yeah, that song did really, really well, and people seemed to like it and not hate it as much as I thought they would. So I'm very happy with that. It did better than Termina. I was like, okay, that's how it is. So yeah, I'm very excited for Nik NXK because it's just this different outlet. It's a bit of a different, like, it's still my fan base, and I'm sure we'll enjoy some of it. But I'm not aiming for like metalheads to all love this. Like, I'm aiming for a different audience to love this. And if metalheads want to come and hang out because it's a metalhead writing it, then that's awesome, right? But yeah, that did really good. The next track for that is going to come out actually this month, in a couple of weeks, which is going to be, again, that's what I love about Nik NXK, is it's fully experimental. Like, we can do whatever style we want because it's no one's, it's just like the industry was fall trap. That has not been done before. This next one is 2000s metalcore meets with riffs and breakdowns, and like blaz meets trap meets like funk, which is a very popular like style as well in hip hop. So yeah, again, it's just like try to do things, see what happens, doing weird videos, and it's very fun. While people still will get Termina and everything else that they're kind of usually waiting for.
So with all of that said, what do you have time to listen to? And can you share one of your favorite deathcore albums of 2022 so far?
Oh man, in terms of albums, I mean, a lot of them came out on January 14th. And I still haven't been able to fully listen to everything from start to finish. But the most I've heard from some of them, Enterprise Earth album was dope.
Your approach to music, you kind of already touched on some of these things, but not only is it really top notch, but you just kind of seem to have fun with it and equally not take things too seriously, as well as it being extremely high quality. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you faced building your channel as well as building your following for your music?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. I face them still every day. I mean, it never really stops. It's learning, it's trying to balance passion, and doing what you love with also what people want to see, but also making sure you're doing something sustainable that's not just going to burn you out too fast, and something that's going to be exciting and has variety in what you do that reinvigorates other content when you make a video or when you make a song. Like it all needs to kind of work together. And that's something that took me a long time to build, and a lot of trial and error, and it's just how it goes. But once I kind of got in the groove and really was like, okay, I don't care even if I react to this or do this and it's going to get big views. Like, I'm done. Like, I want to just check out what I want to check out. I want to write what I want to write. And like, that's going to be the thing that gives me longevity and makes it always fun when I'm doing this. And I know it sounds like, oh, you gotta have fun always. I'm like, yeah, because if you're doing this for, 12 hours a day, every day for your entire, I've been doing this for 8 years now. You gotta enjoy it. You gotta have fun. You gotta be invigorated. You gotta be challenged mentally, in the sense of, wanting to overcome obstacles and to, try new things. And you have to have that balance, to make you want to keep learning, to make you want to keep being creative. And if you don't have that, that's something that took me a long time to kind of get. And I feel much more comfortable now just being myself and not really caring, and having a lot of projects, and being confident in that. If it's like, if I ever have people say, oh, you're just a poser, or this is not metal enough, I'm like, I know I can in any second go throw down one of the heaviest songs they've ever fucking heard in their lives just for the sake of it. And I've done that on some, even on this new Termina album. It's like, it is a heavy album. And even I'm just writing an ignorantly heavy song right now just for the sake of it, just to be like, how heavy can I write a song? Like, why not? Let's try it and make people shut up if they ever have a question. Oh, it's not heavy enough. And vice versa. On the same album, let's try to write something that's like really like one song that's like more of a ballad, chill thing, and have them right next to each other on the album, just for the sake of it, to say, big fuck you to anyone who thinks we can't do both, right? So
it's kind of funny you mentioned like you're sort of like a chameleon in that regard, in terms of like just being able to jump around between genres. And it reminds me a lot of like what Spirit Box is doing and how successful that was for them. They just kind of did whatever they wanted and did it extremely well, and look at where they are now.
Yeah, I think that's a big misconception even for the metal community, is like, it's not that when bands sometimes go softer or go harder or whatever, it's just that you have to do it well and you have to emotionally connect. Like, a song can be just as heavy if it's a brutal deathcore song if it versus a song that's like almost a chill Deftonesy ballad, as long as it's emotionally heavy, you'll connect just as hard. And then having those songs next to each other on an album won't be that like contrasty and weird. But I think that's a thing a lot of people, you know, maybe misinterpret as like, oh well, it's just not heavy, or it's just not this. Where it's like, you know, like, sometimes bands just try shit and it just sucks because it's out of their element. Like that's it.
So what is your second choice for best deathcore of 2022?
Lorna's Sunny, Lorna Shore Sunny are definitely up there. That's a chunky, heavy one. I mean, it's Lorna Shore. They're winning the game right now.
So since the start of your channel, you've really become a beacon of inspiration and positivity in the metal community, which is awesome. We're totally on board with that. What we mean there is that you're genuinely passionate, as you know, people could see, not only about the music, but the health of the industry, the fans, and the scene itself. Your latest single that we just talked about, Industry, really challenges a lot of the things that plague the scene. And you talk about this, you know, frequently on your channel and even with other YouTubers, Tank the Tech, for example, with reactions. Has your outspoken opinion on the metal music industry, has that helped shape the world that you believe it should be in regards to the music scene?
Whenever I make videos, I don't know, you know, how much it penetrates. I know sometimes, like, I'll make a video about the industry or about Spotify, which is basically talking about music industry things nowadays. And sometimes I'll have industry people reach out and be like, yo, thank you for making that. Or like, yeah, like they're on board with that. Cause that's the thing. And even with the song like Industry, it's an angry-ish song, but it's the meaning behind it is not just like, yo, F everything to do with music or people that work in the music business. It's, you know, fuck all these things that are like, all these standards that have been set for so long that are actually limiting a lot of these bands and artists' potentials, that don't change just because, you know, why would they unless someone does make a change for it? And again, I come from the content creator world, which I think provides a very unique perspective coming from like first actually a songwriter, that's before anything, but then YouTuber, and then in the music industry after. And coming in with that perspective and kind of basically, that song's like me coming into the music industry and looking around and being like, why is this all, like, what is this? Why is this normal? Like, this shouldn't, you know, a lot of these things shouldn't be normal. Like, that's just like, oh, every day, like, just how things happen and things are swept under the rug and it just is how it is. And that's kind of what that song is. And I talk with a lot of labels. I work with a lot of labels in the sense of, you know, talking to their A&Rs and they'll be like, hey, we got this stuff coming out, you know, you're interested in checking it out or whatnot. And like I said, a lot of them were even like, yeah, like they're on board. Like they understood what I was getting at and they agree with that because a lot of the new generation is also in that same mindset of, you know, moving forward and even how reactions work and how DMCA works and things like that and how bands should get paid and splits and all that stuff, right? So I hope it made an impact to a point. But I have no clue, but I was able to make a song and people seemed to like it and the message kind of stuck with people and I was like, all right, no complaints.
I think it's interesting to see like reaction content is kind of turned into this promotional marketing thing. And I think it needs to be recognized. And I really appreciated watching you talk about that and kind of being the forefront of that conversation.
Oh yeah. I mean, reactors are part of the, press releases and they're part of the marketing campaigns now. Like if reactors don't know that, by the way, you guys are part of PR campaigns and marketing campaigns. just so you guys know, that's just how it goes. Like it's just as much. Reactors are just as much a part of it as like blogs are and like hitting up radio. Like it's part of it. And it's free marketing too, right? So it's a very important part. And I feel like a lot of reactors don't realize that, and sometimes. Some undervalue themselves and some overvalue themselves, you know, it's definitely a thing. And some are too cocky and confident and think they own the world and everyone gives a shit about their opinion when everyone's just there to see some dude make some weird things to a song and then a song that's popular, you know, to jump on the bandwagon. And then they complain every time they get shitty views because they don't realize that the only reason the time they did get views is only because they reacted to a popular song and that's it. But you know, I think some reactors definitely undervalue the importance of this stuff and how it's a free marketing thing, and how a lot of these, you know, labels, bands, and management have this ginormous marketing budgets that you know we don't it doesn't touch the YouTube world really. And then me coming in from the content creator world, the content creator space as a YouTuber, and being like, well, I know what a sponsored video is, I know what a dedicated video is, I know what a pre-roll is. That's stuff you get paid for, right? Like this is the norms here. And the music industry's coming in here being like, well, yeah, this is free stuff, and that's totally cool. Like I said, I've never charged to do like a reaction video. I do like pre-rolls and sponsored videos every, you know, couple months and so. But when it comes to that, it's like they're basically two different worlds that are starting to come together, and I feel like the music industry is trying to wake up and be like, oh, here's this content creator world that's like important, that you need to do things even on TikTok, like, and stuff like that. And once you start to provide value, especially in a free way, it's like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you want to go there and collaborate and take advantage of that market, of where people are and they're watching every day and getting millions of views doing things.
Let's talk a little bit more about what another one of your picks are for one of your favorite songs or something from this year.
Did Darko release something this year? I think they released Acid Inject. Darko in general. There you go. Darko US, yeah.
So, Termina came out swinging, Translucent. You show off some serious chops, man, all over the map between your performance on guitar, and the unbelievable vocal dynamics of both you and Andy, and the composition and production are just amazing. Can you talk about some of the inspirations behind the song, how you got to work with Andy, and a little bit about the writing process?
The inspiration behind the song, instrumentally, vocally, it's different. Me and Andy kind of, like, we work together vocally to a point, but like he does all the lyrics and all that, and then like we kind of go back and forth, which I guess ties into how we write it. It's like I'll start with an instrumental with a concept. And for that one, it was like, well, I like the electronic stuff because everyone's, you know, piggybacking on like that doom sound. I was like, all right, well, let's have like the electronics and like make this really heavy main riff and then build on it, but then have this like very open, almost loathe style chorus where Andy can do his thing, but then make everything just really heavy after and have breakdowns and stuff. So that was the concept instrumentally, and started with the main riff, you know, added a synth on it, and then just kind of built everything from there. And then, yeah, when I finish it, I send it to Andy, and then, you know, he'll give you some notes with his vocal perspective of like, maybe try doing this, or maybe add like a little pause here because I'm going to do something vocally. And then we shape that, send it to him. He does his, you know, vocals. Same thing. We go back and forth. I'm like, maybe try this, or maybe this would work good. And that sometimes inspires what I should do on the guitars. That's the usual thing. And it still applied this time, but we had a drummer this time, which was Chris. So the only extra step was I had the instrumental, sent it to Chris with no drums because he doesn't want to hear the drums. He wants to not be influenced by the drums. So he's just like, give me the guitars and everything, and then he does the drums. So he did all the drums from scratch, wrote them, recorded them, and then we sent it to Andy, and then went back and forth with that. And then the vocal part was essentially right at the end. We wanted to do something extra for, like, you know, it's the last chorus, let's spice it up. And he was like, well, you know, you were talking about doing vocals, maybe, like, why don't you do the backings? And I was like, okay. And we did that together over literally just like one little session of just like, he's like, maybe do that, maybe hold that longer. And then we did that, and then the ending comes, and then we do like that layered. He's like, yo, what if I go up and you go down? I was like, done. And then recorded that ending part. It was crazy. It was sick. It was really cool. So that's kind of how that song came about in general, and how we usually write stuff is that same process, and how we're writing everything on this album. But yeah, other than that, how me and Andy met, I mean, that's a longer story of just, I saw him on YouTube, we got in contact. I added him on Facebook like 5 years ago, and then he was like, I like your videos, and then we became best friends, and just have worked together on covers ever since. And then there was an opportunity to do a project together, so we started Termina.
That's such a funny story. Like, just like you didn't really think it would be anything, and all of a sudden it's one of the most important things you're doing.
Yeah. It was definitely a side. It was like a fun thing. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Nik Nocturnal was always like, even writing instrumentals and releasing them was always my main thing. But I want to work with a vocalist and have, you know, try that out and write for a vocalist and experiment with that. So yeah, it ended up being kind of my main thing now. And we put a lot of effort into it and push it out as if we have a whole crazy team, marketing and label team behind us. But I mean, we really don't. We do have PR now, which I just started working with Nikki a couple months ago, who's awesome. But I mean, other than that, it's still just me doing the marketing and us doing everything else. And our team that we've built is small. It's me, Andy, now Chris, Patrick Lawler, our videographer, and Zach Cervini now doing the mixing, which I feel like that's all we kind of really need.
Yeah, man, we are really into like the DIY thing, and it's very common nowadays, especially with the accessibility of equipment, of hardware, of gear. As anybody can really spend nickels and dimes now compared to the technology 20, 30 years ago, and it's just easy because somebody can be inspired by seeing you and many of the other YouTubers and being like, this is well within our grasp and our reach. And I think that's really something that we love to see, and like we love to see small teams doing huge stuff.
Yeah, even recording, I literally recorded everything I've ever done, like right here. Even Nik NXK vocals, I don't have an isolation booth. I sit here and I scream in this mic right here, and that's kind of it. So it's very self-sufficient. Andy also records himself, and then Chris does go to a studio for drums and getting a good setup. But yeah, it's important to. I think that DIY aspect is important because then you also know your value. When you're the usual price of things and the value of things and the value of yourself and just how to get things done. Go from A to point Z all the way, and not fuck around and get shit done and make sure it's professional and get the product that you want in the end. Know how to get there. So if you have even the fact that I'll send to reactors or even to Nikki, my PR, I'll send her this. She doesn't even have to ask me. She'll be like, here's our campaign, can you send me stuff? And I'm like, sure. I'll put out the folders, I'll label everything, I'll send the stems, I'll send thumbnails, right? Because I have that YouTuber perspective of what people might want or people might need. No copyright, things like that. And I think even that just gives such a huge competitive advantage in this space that it's important for any band to want to try to do stuff like that.
Last, fourth, and final choice for best deathcore pick of 2022.
The new Slaughter song, New Slaughter to Prevail song is super dope. Definitely.
So, at this point, any honorable mentions or other projects you want to shout out?
It's if anyone wants to follow what I do, it's always at Nik Nocturnal. That's something. I have Termina going, which is the modern metal focus to satisfy all my metal, modern, crazy, down-tuned, needs and creative wants. I got Nik NXK to experiment and get weird and basically just fuck around with vocals and see what happens with that. I got my project with Phil from All That Remains coming for 2000s metalcore, which will start rolling out eventually. I got covers with Will Ramos still coming, where we're recreating stuff. I got also now Kyle Anderson from Brand of Sacrifice. We're doing covers too, which would be really fun to do together. And that's all the. The covers aren't really original, but they're remade. But original stuff. And then there's the YouTube shit. There's the Twitch. There's TikTok. There's Instagram. It's if you're ever into any of that, if you're into metal, or funny things, or having a good time, it's one of those platforms I do will probably satisfy that.
We are absolutely excited for your future, for everything that you got coming out, and really for also challenging the norm and saying, hey, there's value in this new way of thinking, how you approach music, but how you approach releasing music and being a musician and being a creative person. It's fucking awesome. It's metal as fuck. We need more people like you doing this shit.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.